Addiction, mental health, and trauma. Let me first begin by saying that these are all things that are very near and dear to my heart. And when people ask me from a musical perspective, what drives me, this is my driving force in life. And as you learn through this whole next 30 minutes that you hang out with me, I'm going to unpack it for you and I'm going to make it real simple. And I'm going to give you the solution as well because I've been pondering this one the longest. But when you know better, you do better. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our fourth episode of What is the Solution with your girl, Molly Ferdinand, if the name didn't give it away. Before diving in, let me just say everything is alleged and for entertainment purposes. These are just my opinions based on my current knowledge that could change tomorrow, but my past experiences as well. And combined with my unique lens, I just think it might be beneficial to share it with y'all for some reason. If anyone should start using the comment section for anything other than open and educational conversation, I just encourage you to treat them as very sad people that need a hug or completely ignore them. I'm going to preface all my videos by saying the same thing because I just want to I just want us to level up on how we even react to these people. Any reaction at all just lowers you to that. So just don't even bother. Send them love, pretend it didn't happen, and then treat them like toddlers kicking and screaming in the grocery store because it's basically just the adult version of that. But it takes the power away and saves them the embarrassment if you just don't react. We are all born of love. We are energy, and regardless of your environment, you are a kind and loving person by nature because you're born of God. That's just what I believe. But I do believe that every child is precious. So when I see anybody that's acting hateful in any way, my brain asks why. And the type of behavior will usually tell you what this person is lacking or what they lacked growing up if you know what you're looking for. But what happened to them will control their lives and dictate their negative behavior until they figure it out. And it does all play into what we're going to talk about here in the next 20, 30 minutes. But it's the place you operate from if it's broken, so to speak. So when I see someone acting negatively, it means somebody hurt them or neglected them, and it's causing them to act out. So it just means that they need love the most. And that's what I see when I look at people, and it turns that personal offense into pity, sort of. And and then I send a little prayer, and I envision them happy with their families because I genuinely want that for them, because that's the remedy to the negativity that they're spreading. And if I legitimately want to make the world a better place, that's the answer. So you just got to be kind to everyone. And not just when people are looking, when nobody's looking as well. I had one of the judges from this pageant that I was in when I was a kid come up to me after the preliminary screening questions and kind of applaud my answer, because the question was, how would you like to be remembered? And my answer was simply that I was kind. And I really meant that. I've always meant that. Like, I just feel like it's so easy to be kind. And sometimes people really need that. But my goal here is to wake people up to the bigger picture of things that are happening, to get you to level up and to ask better questions, to see behaviors for what they are, regardless of the words and the loud noise that's going on. Um, and it just like there's just certain fundamental basic things that apply to everything. But doing this with you every week has really inspired me with a lot of different topics and ideas. But I want to hear from you. I want to know your input, things that you think are important or should have more focus or more consideration. I'm just here to create good, healthy conversation in some way and to try and shift the perspective by sharing what all this pondering has led me to. First thing I will share with you right off the hop about this topic is that I've never really struggled with a major addiction. Small ones along the way, but my experience with addiction has been more on the outskirts. I mean, it was like in my home, but not me personally. It was in my home a lot. As much as my mother did try to protect us, and she did do a great job, she couldn't save us from everything. And then in our adult lives, it was here and there. And it's a generational disease of trauma, and alcohol was no stranger to my family. Because of my obsession with why, I've always tried to understand alcoholics. That's like the first earliest pattern recognition I locked onto, sadly. It was very obvious to me that people consume alcohol to cope. It's just that simple. If you ever read a book, actually, no, it's not sitting there. The Little Prince, where he happens upon a man on one of the planets, and the man is sitting there uh, crying, and the prince says, "Why are you crying, or why are you sad?" And he says, "Because I drink." And he says, "Well, why do you drink?" And he said, "Because I'm sad." And it's just, but and that's what it is. And while you drink, you give yourself more reasons to be sad, but it's just a vicious cycle, a self-perpetuating cycle that people get locked into. And while they are drinking, they give themselves, like I said, more reasons to feel shame and to be sad, and then drink, and they can't often face themselves after the things they've done in drunken stupors and whatnot. So what I clocked onto at a very early age was that using substance to cope was what people did when they didn't deal with things properly when they happened. It's emotions that someone feels are too painful, and so they drink or use or eat or doom scroll or whatever, take your pick. So for me, it always seemed very clear to prevent substance abuse. All I had to do was just always feel my feelings, always deal with things when they happened, so that it didn't sit and fester and become something I couldn't manage. So I believed in that so much that I will make time and space to really howl it out and be by myself for weeks at a time in order to process my feelings and get emotional intensity out of my body. I go into full emotional purgery, and I let it get as ugly as it needs to be before I come out. I let myself do whatever I need to do or feel whatever I need to feel at whatever intensity it needs to come out, honestly. And when I'm done, I'm done. I obviously still feel the feelings, but it's not overwhelming. It loses all of that, like, that you can't handle, that overwhelm. And then I pick myself up and I carry on. If you don't know my story, I lost 6 members of my family at once. And I watched many people get like to start using prescription and substances, which you can hardly blame anybody. 6 people, like 4 of them being children. Not too many people can raw dog that, if you catch my drift. But I made a promise to myself to deal with it the right way. And when I was done shouldering everything that happened, I took a month to myself of total isolation in the woods. I put zero expectations on myself, and I spent days. I just spent my days doing whatever I felt. I met myself where I was every day. If I didn't feel like getting out of bed, I didn't. If I felt like reading a book on my deck all day, that's what I did. If I felt like talking to somebody, I did. If I oftentimes I didn't. um, Here's the thing about feelings. They kind of leave once you fully feel them. It's the running from them and the trying to avoid them that makes the mess. And it's often what addicts do. And the more you try to avoid them, the more problems you create in your life. Prove me wrong. More than it is the feelings from what actually happened to people. It's often the shame that comes with it that they can't seem to come out from under. It's the lie that they inadvertently make up to go with the event that keeps them trapped in some kind of shame and unable to cope with it. Thoughts become feelings, feelings become actions, actions become behaviors, behaviors become character. But thoughts are where it's all born. For me, even though I didn't have bad addictions, my reality got rocked when I finally figured out the lie that I was telling myself. And even though it was it wasn't it wasn't fueling substance abuse, but it was running my life and making me choose and feel things that I didn't understand. They weren't lining up with what I really wanted out of life, and I couldn't understand why I was feeling them. So I started asking myself why, like obsessively, about everything. Like, why everything? Every time I went to say, do, eat, I said why. And I know that might sound like a full time job, and it kind of was at first. And then it's liberation after that. My personal lie was that my daddy didn't love me and that he would have tried or stayed. And it's not really directly like that, but it's sort of in the background. It's something like that. And then I was running around looking for love the same way a teenage girl would, finding myself in the same place over and over and over. And I was just done with it. So I had to figure out exactly why so that I would stop repeating the pattern. And it's not really that different. But I do remember those early days of my awakening, and I felt like a baby deer wobbling on new legs. So when I got clear about my whys for doing things and realized that none of them made sense, I had to come up with new whys. What did I actually want out of life? What did God put me here to do? What of these gifts and these life experiences he gave me? Like, they've been crazy. So what am I supposed to do? I'm just trying to follow the call here. But things you can do is the things you can do is the trap part that most people fall into. It's the difference between having the smartest books on your shelf and a life we're talking about is action and accountability, because wherever you lay blame, so too do you lay the power to change. And I just want to highlight that like really loudly. Therefore, I blame myself for everything that I possibly can. It's a powerful place to sit if your ego can stomach it. I don't have one of those very often, especially not as it pertains to people's opinions of me. It's a gift I was born with. I wish I could give it to other people, honestly. I always said if I was bullied in school, I didn't notice. Um, I saw a little bit, but but that accountability, um, it's the birthplace of change. You have to acknowledge the part that you play in your circumstances before you can do anything about it. I asked someone close to me if they knew why this 12 step program worked. This is a conversation with a person that was on their way to rehab and knew that I have never been an addict. So the absurdity that I would have the answer to that question was evident on their face, but he did listen anyway. And his face kind of said, like, what is this little girl about to tell me about a program I know and she don't know? And I proceeded to say this anyway, because the truth is the truth. I said, the reason that the 12 step program works is because accountability is the foundation. You are accountable to you, to another person, and to your higher power. And then You have someone that keeps in touch with you and makes sure that you're always staying accountable to yourself. And there really wasn't much arguing to be had, right or wrong. Like it's there was no reply at all. And then I proceeded to say that if I know that, then knowing that means that the kindest and most loving thing that I can do to help you heal is to hold you accountable in the kindest way I possibly can because I want healing for you. It's why parents and spouses are often the worst thing for people in who need recovery and who are trying to get away from addictions is they really struggle to hold them accountable. But just like in the show Intervention, we've seen it a million times. If you've seen it once, as soon as they hold them accountable, they change. Not always permanently, but nothing happens until that moment of accountability. Every single time. I love that word. It's no different in you, and it doesn't have to be extremes, though. But let's just say your negative thinking is what's creating some kind of depressive state for you. People genuinely get addicted to feeling bad. It becomes a comfort. And coming from trauma myself, I do get it. I've seen myself do it. That's why I can speak to it, really. Uh, but the only way you can change is if you acknowledge that you're doing it. Isn't that great? You have the power. You have the power. Excuse me. Accountability is a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's only for a second. And then it's complete liberation from that feeling. I love when it's my fault. It means I have the power. A big part of addiction is the shame loop, though, that your ego will never let you out of. It's a fictitious psychological warfare we commit on ourselves every day, usually for zero reason. And something I honestly, genuinely wish I could rid humanity of. I wish I could abolish shame. I love Brene Brown for that. I'm not talking about shame for things that you should have, like for shame for things you did. Like if you did something wrong, then shame is a good teacher. But I'm talking about self-imposed shame that comes from years of lying to yourself about the terrible thing that happened to you. The shame from poor framework and wrong stories that you told yourself about yourself and why certain things happened. Because even though I'm an extreme version of this, when you're a kid, if you don't get the story in your mind right about what happened to you, it can wreak havoc on your whole life. But also, if you don't have context for why something happened, you will make it up. Again, I might be an extreme in this way, but making up my own whys for someone else's actions because I didn't actually know has really created a lot of upset for me. And I think if it's true for me, it could be true for other people. I'm sure you're nodding your head right now. Somebody out there is. But thinking about the crazy girl blowing up your friend's phone because he's doing all kinds of fictitious things in her mind. Meanwhile, he's sleeping, right? Okay. But now lay that over your entire life. And this is where you're operating from because your programming didn't go right. Sorry. Most of your early life is like freaking out because of a lie in your mind until you finally understand the truth. And you got to go right to the source to fix it. But instead of going to the source and fixing it, we abuse ourselves the same way pharma does, by just symptom treating and escaping the moment with no intent to heal or cure, and no regard for your future self or the root cause. It's just momentary comforts above all else. It's easy and convenient, and no one likes effort these days. So take a pill and ignore the problem. You're much easier to control that way. Even something as simple as picking up your phone is a void filler because people struggle just to sit with themselves in silence. That's typically where everything is waiting that you don't want to deal with or don't want to acknowledge. So the hand usually comes up. I'm guilty of it too. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. But we have to recognize that it's a dopamine addiction, and that's we're creating little dopamine highs all the time. One of my big whys in life, and this is really important to me, my like I said earlier, my main reason for wanting success of any kind in life is to position myself to build emotional psychological trauma facilities. It started off as a desire to build rehab centers, but something in me has always recognized a deeper problem. As I have mentioned, I have seen the fentfold streets in Vancouver. I have seen it in my own home in Atlantic, Canada, and for me, it all equals the same. Abuse and neglect as a child, combined with the story about your self worth based on what happened to you, is what is feeding the drug epidemic that is filling our streets. That's what's really happening. I saw it every day in Windsor. I was actually a victim of its desperation. And in spite of losing things that I will never be able to replace, things that were precious to me, I dug my heels in harder to want to help. I paid forward the kindness that people at that particular time were showing me. I gave my book to a girl in my dumpster. And I gave the phone that somebody had given me, I passed that on to somebody else. What they did with it was none of my business after that. But what I've come to understand is this is a problem of humanity, not the government or corporations. Although they're not helping, they're profiting and enabling. But it is my belief that we are both an emotional and a physical body, and that both need to be treated the same. Emotional traumas that don't get proper treatment become pain throughout life in the form of relationships. Did you hear that part? So let's play that out physically. You break your you break a bone as a kid. Your parents don't take you to the hospital. They say he's a kid, he'll bounce back. And probably you do bounce back and you do heal pretty quick. But now every time you use that part of your body, you've got to endure a little bit of pain. And then every time you do things, you're trying to avoid that pain. So then you're compensating. And then before you know it, your entire posture's out and you've wreaked havoc on all the surrounding parts. So you can apply that to emotions. It's the same thing. I want to build facilities that treat emotional bodies the same way we treat physical bodies. Addiction to me is the extreme demonstration of deep emotional trauma that isn't healed, or the story about it isn't right. And you need support to unpack that sometimes, and the right support at that. But this is why recovery facilities isn't enough for me. It's quite a dream, but YOLO. And you only dream once, and you're your only limits, folks. And that is my dream. I want to build facilities and make them accessible to everybody. But this is a problem of generational trauma, repeat victims, and just doing an absolutely terrible job with how we raise and protect our children. And we will be ashamed when we look back one day at this time. The only thing we can do is a better job today and tomorrow, and to make better choices from a better place for the right reasons, and then the world heals. But it is always the personal choice that does make the difference. The choice to educate yourself, to stand up for your rights, to come together as people to heal and to help, and getting to the root of your why. If you're a human being watching this, which obviously you are, your truest nature is to be kind and loving. Work backwards from that and then ask yourself why along the way. Set yourself a purpose or some goals to work towards. Ask yourself who you'd like to be in a year from now and start seeing the possibilities around you to help you make that happen today. It's not about climbing the highest mountain in the fastest time, it's learning to live in a different way because that way or your way doesn't work. His ways are always better. But if each person healed themselves in this way, no matter what extreme or varying degree of trauma and experience that you have, we would change the world. That is how you change the world. It is the personal choice. When my heart aches over the state of the world and my current circumstances or how tough that it has been for so long, I always think to myself, like, why? Why come here as a human being on this planet? If you can believe that that's what we do. But it is my belief that I was me before I took on this avatar, and I'm going to be me after I'm done with this body. And when I'm not in this body, I won't know form and everything that is tangible in this experience on this planet Earth. It is a blessing to bear witness to God's artistry every single day and to be in harmony with it. Every breath is a blessing, and the next one is not guaranteed. But what is this existence that we have created for ourselves? Various degrees of mild addictions everywhere, completely disconnected from knowledge, nature, and each other, getting away with it because it's mostly all very socially acceptable on purpose. I read a book a long time ago that changed my life, and it was a big part of my awakening. And it's called A Hunger for Healing. And I meant to grab is it on my shelf? No, not that lucky. Sorry. I'll plug the author. But to summarize, it's the Christian spin on the 12-step program, and it basically makes it applicable to anyone that wants to apply it to their life and their own character defects without having substance use problems. And all I'm saying is start blaming yourself, and you'll start finding that there's real power to change. That's the good stuff. Trust me. I want to provoke you to think deeper and to ask better questions, to see things for what they are, and to see the underlying truth so that we as people can help to heal it or bring healing to those around us that need it. I don't want to make it super political, but for 12 years, the only thing the liberals have done to help the addiction epidemic is to supply them with better facilities and tools to ingest. They have become the ultimate enabler without spending a dollar or breath on facilities or cleaning up the streets and getting these people help. No, the opposite. So, don't I like they know the things that I'm saying. So, they don't want to help. It's not about that. You don't matter, neither do your streets. But I will add this last little thing. During the convoys here in Canada, Pierre Polyev was boots on the ground in addiction facilities trying to understand this epidemic and at least acknowledging that it's a real thing in this country. And he's had my vote since. This is a problem of humanity, and it requires a person of character with a love for humanity to actually fix this. That's just my opinion. Again, take it or leave it. But when you're trying to kick out old habits, this is where I find I fail a lot. You're kind of trying to kick out old thinking, bad habits, you better have the replacement on the ready. Otherwise, you will fall right back into whatever you're trying to avoid. We often spend so much time on the trying not to do something. Without replacing it, you leave a void that wants to be filled, and comfort is just a little too easy. So, the better approach is to choose something else to do when you feel that urge to do that thing that you're trying to stop, but also find out what you really enjoy doing and what kind of person you'd like to be in 5 years, and the things that you'd have to do in order to be that person, and start filling your time with working towards that. And then all of a sudden, things just start changing. And don't forget that it is the small choices that add up to the big ones. I hear that a lot in my algorithm, and I'm happy to echo it some more. That's the real and sustaining change is the small choices. Rehab is for extreme cases, but it doesn't have to require extreme intervention to get help. There are things that you can do. I would highly recommend that book, but we need to heal as a human race. And it is my belief that we do that through working towards understanding, which we then know breeds kindness and compassion for one another. Um, we need to save our judgment and comparisons and start standing up for the truth and common sense and what is right. And we need to help each other out. The last thing that we need to be doing is judging and comparing ourselves against one another. I really can't stress that one enough. As I said in my last live, no one escapes having something in their lifetime that creates shame. But nobody needs to live in this trap in their mind. But like it shouldn't keep you from the life that you should have, that you're put here to have. I think that's a beautiful thing about having a platform is you just stand proud in who you are, and people appreciate that. It takes a little bravery. Trust me. I will be the first to tell you. But it ain't that bad and you're worth it. Um but I highly encourage and invite anybody to reach out to me on any social platforms. If you ever just have any questions, I did also write a book. I don't shamelessly plug it. I just felt the need to write it because I seem to have an understanding to offer the world. And am very adamant about doing a better job with our kids, and everybody needs to stop drinking. So I hope that you have found this beneficial. I'm going to scoot over here and just see what's going on real quick. Hey guys. Hey, hello. Hello everybody. Um oh, I've known a few addicts in my life. Yes. Obviously. You can find my book on iBooks or on Amazon. Um Kindle. I am currently writing the sequel to that one. And yeah, it's called The Breakdown: How to Change the Framework. So what I find is so interesting about so many of the things that I want to talk about and that I have talked about, it's like the information is always just skewed ever so slightly, but I feel like I'm quite sharp to dissect that and kind of like shift it. Like religion. I don't know how, not to say that addiction and everything is the same as religion, but that is actually going to be the next topic. Little hint, hint for next week if anybody wants to be tuning in next Tuesday. I am going to be talking about religion. I think I'm going to have a lot of interest. It's just, anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is these things are not wrong, and you'll never fully get away from them. You can't completely do away with them, but they're just not quite right. Like talking about health and wellness and all the information that's out there. It's like it's just skewed just enough that it's too confusing and nobody gets it. um when it comes to religion, it's like the Bible, it's right, but it left out so much, and it just shifted the translations just ever so slightly so that people of power within religions could then control and dictate and manipulate the masses and become an arm for the government. But how do you keep the Bible and the story of God and the word of God, and you know do away with that part of it? And I feel like addiction, mental health, it's like we need to fix the problem, but we're just not quite approaching the solution the right way. You got to actually look at the root cause, and that's what we're not doing. And we just become a society of symptom treatment. And oh my gosh, it's just madness. It just feels crazy. um I have gone to Al-Anon. I've read a lot of books. I oh No, again, every time I look to see which books I have on my shelf, the one that I'm looking for is not there. But I do have like a daily passage Al-Anon book that I read. And it just keeps me out of trying to control things, I find, keeps my perspective right. And I do highly encourage the 12-step program for everybody and everyone. But you don't have to be an extreme addict. You don't have to um I don't know. It doesn't have to be interventions and rehabs and 12-step programs. Like, the same path is available to other people of more mild, desire to change and heal. But I do highly encourage meetings. And I've been in those rooms. I grew up in those rooms, but yeah. What else have we got here? Good on you for being a recovering addict. That takes a lot. So congrats on that. Um, Thank y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just trying to see what we got here. I'm not very good at this like techie stuff, so I apologize. But anyway, I think that's good. I hope y'all learned something. Tell your aunties, come back next Tuesday. We'll do the same thing again. And drop your comments after the live too. I'd love to hear your thoughts on addiction, mental health, and trauma. Have a good one, guys. Love ya.